Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Buffalo Chicken Pizza. Well, today we're bringing together two of our favorite foods, as we often like to do on this channel, buffalo chicken and pizza. And you're gonna see some familiar ingredients that you've already seen on the channel, like our homemade buffalo sauce, our buttermilk ranch dressing, some cold smoked cheese, some pizza dough. We're gonna put it all together and cook it on the Clementino wood-fired oven, so let's get it fired up. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start by building a little log cabin, kind of center right of the oven. I'm gonna throw some Kamado Joe fire starters in here to help us get going. And we're gonna build this fire right here where we wanna land the pizza. So we're gonna heat up the deck right underneath where that pizza is gonna land, so it's nice and hot. We brown the bottom. And then once this kind of breaks down, we can scoop it off to the side and we'll have a nice clean surface to work with. We're starting off with some apple wood today just because it burns easily, but we'll probably switch over to oak because it has a really nice BTU off-put, creates a lot of heat once we get this fire going. Now I've already started a batch of our pizza dough. If you guys haven't checked out the video on how to make pizza dough, go watch that if you want step by step. Regardless, we're gonna throw the recipe in with the rest of this recipe. So far I've got it mixed, it's risen, it's doubled in size. We're gonna turn it out now and form it into our pizza dough balls. All right, so this is a double batch to make 4 pizzas, 4 good-sized pizzas. So we're just going to divide it into 4 now, a dough scraper. And then to form these, essentially just gonna start kind of tucking the dough underneath itself until it forms a ball. And then we'll work it on the surface, pulling that skin back to kind of create a nice taut surface. Should be smooth on top. Just like that. And then we're just gonna land these here on a sheet pan with a little bit of olive oil. And we'll cover this up with plastic wrap once we get another one on here. We'll keep those covered so that they don't form a skin on the surface. This part's a lot easier to do if you don't use a bunch of flour, because that flour will just make it want to slide around. And you can't really form that surface if it's sliding around. All right, so those need to rest at least another 30 minutes before we're able to actually roll them out for pizza. So we've given this probably about 10-15 minutes for this to burn down completely. It's really heating up that stone underneath it. And at any point now, we're ready to slide this off to the side to contain it with the fire grate. So I'm just gonna make myself a little extra room before we slide that fire grate in. And then we're gonna go all the way to the left side. We'll go ahead and start adding some more splits right off the bat. So we wanna get this oven nice and hot. And then we've got all that debris on the deck that we want to get off to the side as well, so it doesn't end up in our pizza. We'll just bump that right up against that burn grate and it'll be fine right there. Now before we get to cooking pizzas in the oven, there's a couple other things that we're gonna cook inside the oven today. One being the chicken and the other being the buffalo sauce. And the buffalo sauce I wanna knock out early because I actually want it to cool down a bit before we toss it with that chicken a little later. So I've got our Lodge 8-inch cast iron skillet. It's just been preheating just for a couple minutes in the oven. And we're gonna throw our ingredients in here, starting with 1 stick of butter, or a half cup, kind of let that start to melt down. I'll go ahead and add in our spices now. I'm doing a teaspoon of cayenne. You could go a full tablespoon. Totally up to you how you want to adjust the heat level more or less. I'd start with about a teaspoon, half teaspoon of granulated garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed, and here's a half teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then of course, for your buffalo sauce, you have to have hot sauce. Today, we're using the Cattleman's Grill Pit Fire. We're gonna throw 2/3 of a cup in there, which leaves a couple tablespoons behind, which is good because we're gonna need those a little later. And we'll throw this back into the oven and bring it up to a simmer. Gonna constantly keep feeding this fire to keep the oven hot. Now would be a good time to switch over to your harder wood like an oak wood. So we're just simmering away in there. Doesn't need long, a couple minutes. Give it a little whisk and throw it back in. We're not really looking to cook the sauce down necessarily. We really just want to let those flavors start to get to know one another, really start to open up. So we don't have to leave this in there long. In fact, I'm going to pull it out right now. And we can just leave that in the skillet to cool down. You'll see it start to separate. Don't worry, you can whisk it back together. All right, so now let's go ahead and prepare this chicken. So we're going to be using chicken thighs today. Just going to hit these with a little bit of oil to help our seasoning stick. Just boneless thighs. We're going to grill these off in a grill pan inside the Clementino. And for seasoning today, we're going to hit these with the Cattleman's Grill Trail Dust, just our all-purpose seasoning. So this trail dust is a great seasoning. You'll notice that it's got quite a coarse texture to it. And just for what we're doing today with a hot, really hot application, I've decided to go ahead and put it into our spice grinder just to break it down a bit finer so it just kind of melts into that meat. And that way, those big chunks don't just scorch when they hit the pan. We love that coarse texture for when we're smoking big meats. It's great for a nice bark. But today, we want to break it down just a little bit finer. All right, so inside the oven we have our Lodge grill pan just getting crazy hot so we can sear off our chicken thighs. I'm going to throw those back in there. We're just keeping the oven hot. The door's open, so it's hard to get a real fixed reading. We've got 400 on the dial on the far right side, but I guarantee you it's much hotter right in the center. So hot and fast is what we're going for here. All right, these have been sizzling away for a few minutes. Getting some nice little golden browning on there, so we'll put these over now. All right, we're gonna check internal here. We're looking to finish this around 175 would be ideal. So this big one's not done yet, but I'm gonna say these small ones probably are. I'll go ahead and take them out. All right, last of the chicken's out. So what we wanna do next is we're gonna shred these up. You're gonna plan on doing about 2 thighs per pizza, so this is 2 pizzas here. If you wanna do all 4, go ahead and do another round of chicken. So we're just gonna use a couple of forks here to pull the chicken apart. We're just gonna do shredded chicken for our buffalo chicken today. You can do some decent sized chunks of that. It doesn't have to be all the way broken down. I kinda like doing this when you're gonna toss it in sauce because all these little stringy bits kind of soak up the juices of that sauce. I mean, the alternative would be to just dice it, and then you get the sauce on the outside, but it doesn't quite soak up the same. So whisked our sauce back together here. You can see because of that butter cooling down how it's kind of set up a bit more. We're gonna go ahead and pour not all of this, but some of our sauce over the chicken. It really depends on how much chicken you end up with, but you really just want it totally coated in the sauce. We are gonna save back some of that sauce to finish the pizza. We wanna get that chicken pretty saturated with the buffalo sauce. The buffalo chicken is good to go. All right, pizza dough's been hanging out. You can see how it's really spread, puffed up. These are ready to be stretched, and I don't want them to go any further on the proof, so I'm gonna throw these into the fridge to slow them down. Now we've got 2 sauces left to prepare for this pizza, but before we do that, let me kind of paint you a picture of where we're heading. So when we prepare a pizza, we're going pizza dough. On top of that, we've got our cream cheese base. We'll get to that. We're gonna do our buffalo chicken, some blue cheese crumbles, optional, some smoked mozzarella, and then that goes into the Clementino. When it comes out, we're gonna finish it with some more of that buffalo sauce and our buttermilk ranch dressing. So let's get to that buttermilk ranch. So we're gonna fly through this real quick here. We're gonna do a 1/2 cup each of sour cream and mayo. And then the buttermilk I like to save for last because it allows us to adjust the consistency of our sauce or dressing. We've got a 1/4 cup of minced parsley, tablespoon of minced dill, tablespoon of chives, teaspoon of lemon juice, and 1 clove of garlic that I have grated up on the microplane. I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of pepper, fresh cracked Tella cherry pepper, and some hickory smoked noble salt. Give it a whisk. As you can see, super thick right now, but then you can add your buttermilk just a tablespoon at a time to adjust the consistency to however you like it. And of course that buttermilk adds a little bit of that sourness to it, but you're also gonna pick that up from the lemon juice and the sour cream, so we're not fully relying on it from the buttermilk. I'm gonna say that's about 2 tablespoons, and that's where we're gonna stop. All right, now for that cream cheese base, this is super simple. You're gonna want about 4 ounces of cream cheese for each pizza that you're doing, so we'll do a 4 pizza batch here. And then we're gonna do about 2 tablespoons, or shoot, let's just do the rest of this bottle of our Pitfire hot sauce. And then a little shake of the trail dust, and that's all there is to it. Mix that up. I'm gonna actually throw it into a piping bag because it's one of the easiest ways to spread it. You wanna make sure your cream cheese is soft, room temperature, so that it works easily and spreads easily. So there you go, cream cheese base, nothing to it. So now we'll go into the piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, and you probably don't, because why would you, unless you're a baker, you can just use a Ziploc and cut a corner off. That's essentially what we're gonna do with the piping bag today. So I'm gonna grab that pizza dough, we're gonna put it all together. We're gonna flatten this out a bit. I'm just gonna stretch this by hand. I like to start by making a little border, just give it a pinch. I already feel we've got that thin spot developed. We'll push that together. Just kind of letting gravity do the work for now. And then I kind of prefer to turn it over the top of my hands and start to stretch it that way. So just kind of gonna gently pull until you can kind of see light through the dough in the center. We get this into something resembling a circle here. What is that, probably 12, 14 inches across? Just about right for the Clementino. All right, so first we're gonna come in with that cream cheese. It's kind of nice if you can get it spread out so that you don't get big bites of cream cheese. You want a little bit in every bite rather than a lot in one bite and none in the next. And then we're gonna come in on top of that with our buffalo chicken. We've got a mix here of low moisture and fresh mozzarella. Either one you're gonna be fine with on this pizza. I just happen to have both on hand, and we smoked these earlier this week. Cold smoking cheese, super simple process. Go to our channel, search for how to cold smoke cheese. And then we're gonna top this off. Like I said, this is optional. If you're not into blue cheese, then leave this off, but just some crumbled blue cheese on top. And that is ready to go into the oven. All right, so we're just going to shoot our peel here, a little bit of flour on it, and go right into the oven. And I'm gonna throw that lid on to keep that heat moving from the source up through the stack, just right over the top of that pizza. All right, it's about 30, 45 seconds it's been in there. We're getting some nice color, so we're just gonna rotate. Probably another just 20 seconds there. So we're moving fast now. All right. I mean, that's probably just under 2 minutes total time. The bottom's nice and brown. Good browning around the edges, and certainly already on the top. So that's good to go. So that's a quick pizza, but I mean, listen to that crunch on the crust. That's a beautiful thing. Let's go ahead and finish topping this off. So we'll start off with that buffalo sauce. The reason we're doing this afterward, you can already see just at slightly above room temperature how runny it is. If you cook that on there, it's such a fragile sauce that that's just going to separate, and you'll have butter and hot sauce mixed on your pizza. So we'll finish that off with that ranch dressing, and that's good to go. All right, first pie of the day is going to the staff. We're gonna make a second one. We're gonna make some people happy. All right, let's give it a try. So I can tell it's sturdy enough to hold up, even with all those toppings, but still really tender, which is a great thing. What I really like about this dough. Woo, little bonus there. Now, it's crazy how sometimes the smallest additions, you notice them right off the bat. Because I got celery seed out of that buffalo sauce in the first bite. But beyond that, you start thinking about what surrounds it. The cream cheese base is so creamy. Buffalo's got just a little bit of heat, but mostly it's the tang. And then those little blue cheese crumbles make a difference. But that dough is so fantastic, holds up to this. Still so tender. That's all I'm looking for. That's really all I'm looking for in my pizza. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.